What up, Twitch and YouTube? I'm multi-streaming today. For those who don't know me, my name is Seaweed or Seductive Seaweed. I stream political content, pop culture, film, art, and gaming. And by art, I mean by like visual, like video art. I'm a filmmaker, film student, as well as working now on animation and stuff like that. Definitely want to learn more of that. But it's so far very currently out of my scope. But had some stuff to react to today, but also a lot in the news. I am a leftist, not a lib, which is exactly why we're going to go in and criticize the current liberal majority right now, because you may have not heard, but big thing that was being talked about was getting minimum wage risen, and put that in with the COVID package. Two senators were against it, and two liberal ones. One that's more or less a both of them are basically Republicans, though. But there's plenty to criticize about Biden, and I think this is something where if you're leftist or liberal, or there are things to communicate with Republicans over that we can
also today the Biden
talk to, and we can have very similar goals, and same things affect a lot of the same things affecting us. A big part of conservative, and we can go into that, there is a larger fear of the other, and a fear of no longer being relevant. Both of these have actually been studied. It is found that Republicans tend to fear those around them more. Easier to fall into conspiratorial stuff, harder time with certain judgment processes. Science has shown this. I know a lot of people might want to go, well, science is liberal, but it's more the other way around. When liberals are working right, and they're not always following science, for that matter. But not with transgender issues or things like that. More like the environment and the fact that we're slowly going to burn and die and everything's going to be worse. But until then, it would be nice if you could afford to live. Specifically, be able to afford your apartment, maybe some health care, and work a job, work very hard. There's a lot of people that work a lot, work regularly a lot, multiple jobs, and they can barely afford their own apartment, let alone health care. It was proposed to put in a $15 to raise the minimum wage, which is federally at $7.25 or something like that, to $15 over some time. Why you want to do it over a couple years is to not shock the economy and then create the inflation, which is where it can be an issue. However, all of that was kind of struck down recently today, and Americans desperately need this. There are countries that are a lot of the Nordic countries are brought up as that they don't have a minimum wage, but they're doing much better, and that's because they have a lot of union support, a lot of collective action, compared to the U.S., where unions are, well, actually, that's another thing we should be going over, is the union organizing in Amazon right now. But they're heavily been attacked over a long time. And a lot of work and money has gone into making unions look very bad to workers, look like they're need to pay dues and have an outsider come in when there's no outsider there. It's not an outsider when it is a collective group of your own peers and coworkers. We can get into that topic next. I'd like to, but first I want to go over this because this is really disappointing and sad. And I've heard a lot of people comment on this and think that if this doesn't get in now, probably won't get in at least in the next 2 years, which then the Dems are going to be giving themselves a big window to be voted out again. And then if the Republicans get back in again, lots of obstruction, moving on. And then Biden will be out, and who knows, Trump could go back in. A lot of the base, the Republican base, wants to go back to that. There's a lot counting on things like this. We need to make calculated moves, and you cannot just pull back from this. I believe the Senate parliamentarian said they shouldn't, and then Bernie, being on the committee, had some power to decide what to do with it. But I don't know what happened with that. I don't know why Bernie would even agree or allow it to take this to take this loss, because honestly, and I do need to look up more on it, what exactly happened with this. But that's going to be a little bit of what we're doing right now.
Administration's nearly $2 trillion COVID relief package faces its first full House vote. But in a blow to the Democrats, the bill's proposed minimum wage increase will not be included in that package.
Hello to whoever's in chat. If you're in YouTube chat, I think.
Walk us through what happened with the minimum wage piece of it.
I can't see anyone on Twitch.
Of course. Good morning, Savannah. So raising the minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 an hour, it was one of President Biden's key campaign promises, but he's not going to be able to deliver on that promise quite yet. And it comes after a Senate official ruled that raising the minimum wage can't be part of this massive COVID relief package that Congress is debating right now. The Senate parliamentarian says it doesn't meet the complex requirements that would allow Democrats to raise the wage without Republican support. And getting this done has been a huge priority for progressive Democrats. They argue it would lift so many people out of poverty. But this decision means that it's much less likely the minimum wage will go up anytime soon. That's because Democrats only control 50 seats in the Senate, and now they would need 60 votes to do it. And many Republicans are opposed to it. They point to a CBO report that says raising the wage to $15 could cost 1.4 million jobs. Savannah.
Yes, but so
that CBO report is under some question, because there wasn't some great methodology there, as well as so I do believe it would be a little bit less. There would be job loss. However, and I think this is a really important part to look at, that's not presuming that they aren't getting, there's not controlling for factors of like, yes, what if they lost a job? But then, because they didn't need another job, because a lot of people are working 2 to 3 jobs, and more commonly, even more so than ever, America has a gig economy. Uber Eats, Good Eats, Uber Eats, Good Eats is not one of them. But all of the Postmates, all the delivery services and things like that, dependent on contractors. This is, you can't have a nice, actual fulfilling life when you're having to bounce from job to job to job. Can't even pay for your healthcare, barely can pay for an apartment. So yeah, I mean, some of those jobs are going to be jobs that then either that person does not need to have to work anymore. because they're in a family and maybe now they can stay home and take care of their kids, or B, those people no longer needed to work there because they were able to sustain themselves with one job, and things like that. Now, there's going to be some that is just lost, but they're going to be able to find another job. And if we properly do this and subsidize, and well, not subsidize, it already is, pay for a better welfare state while we do this, obviously, anything like this, like moving large rules in regards to economy, have a lot of domino effect changes. That's why you need to make sure that when you're doing it thoughtfully, as well as making sure people are provided safety nets and education and other things as well. That's the annoying thing about government when you're voting on like one law to do something. But honestly, so much of this, especially in regard to economy, needs to happen holistically. So, meaning it needs to be changed on so many different fronts. But that being said, we really need to be able to provide a actual living wage. And a large part of that argument comes down to, well, what if then you're just helping other big businesses, which because they'll pay more to get rid of the mom and pops. But Walmart is already getting rid of all the mom and pops. They don't care, right? That's a separate problem that needs a different solution, which is how we handle monopolies and power. But the wage is not affecting that. There's no other reason to not, the only reason to not do this right now is the Republicans will say that it's the deficit, although they add to deficit and every time that they're in office. And I mean, that's the biggest thing that people will talk about, like, oh, it's going to put us more in debt. But the truth is, if we have more people working, getting paid more, there's more money also going to be coming into the economy if they're working more or living at least substantial, comfortable enough lives. These things, the economy is not just a numerical quota. There are people with feelings and energy and time behind it, meaning like their time. When people are adequately taken care of and when they can function more properly within society, they work harder and better and are more willing to do so. Where compared to where we are now, which is so many people on their last legs doing just to what they can to survive, which is perfect for capitalism, when capitalism is a cutthroat society, meaning you have to not give a shit about those around you to get to the top. And if you're poor, fighting for every scraps, you're also taught in that same manner. So
that's the minimum wage piece of the package. There's still the larger COVID relief bill, including direct payments to people. What's the status of that?
They're racing to get this done by March 14th. That, of course, is this critical date when unemployment insurance benefits will expire for so many people. It's a really tough deadline on their calendars. Now, the House is going to pass their version of this bill today. That's the first step. That is going to include the minimum wage increase. But of course, it's then got to go to the Senate, where we're going to have some more back and forth. Again, they're trying to get this all wrapped up early next month. Savannah.
All right, Casey, we know you'll be on it on the Hill. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your
So yeah, that's not fun. I'm curious what because I just looked it up. I saw Fox News covered some of it. Which this is a longer run issue, obviously, and get money into people's hands now, but in the long run, a higher minimum wage is going to do more than the stimulus. Now, the stimulus is still important. Get the money out now because people need it. The problem with that, though, is it's already been reduced to 14 when we love talking about $2,000 checks. $1,400 checks just got approved, which Biden also promised $2,000. And now, they're pushing it with, well, you guys got another $600 check, 600 plus 1,400. There you go, but which is just preposterous, and it's just sleight of hand. And the annoying thing is that it's almost just like a jab, because like it makes no difference really. That dollar amount is so pitifully small and makes up barely anything of it, especially since this is only happening once. And now the vaccine's coming through, what are they going to do? Probably nothing, right? The Dems aren't going to do anything. You already got your stimulus, even though like other countries have been getting monthly payments and have affordable health care where you can barely get taken care of, if not leaving with tens of thousands of dollars of debt, or you can't work. So how are you paying this off? We have not canceled rent. The biggest thing that we've done was do a moratorium, which means eventually people will have to pay a fuck ton of money all at once. How are people going to do this? Really, the biggest thing that really needed to happen right off the bat is canceling student debt, which Biden has said for about $50,000, which he should just do for all. And I've gone into why that's comes at such a benefit to the U.S. as a whole. But the idea that sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm gonna play a little bit of music too. Hold on. No, no matter what though, this is, oh yeah, they're going to just go on, pretend like it didn't happen and do a little bit and then, oh, we're all fine. But really, all rent should have been canceled, right? And it wasn't. And a lot of people say, well, that's crazy. What about landlords? Well, subsidize the landlords that are not giant and help them out. And for the large ones, they can take the hit since we already have footed their bill several times over. Okay? Like this whole like don't take handouts thing is ridiculous when we, the taxpayers, are giving out handouts all the time to rich people. No. They do not deserve your pity just because one day you might be in the cool club, which guess what? You're not going to be. But they're going to go past this and then pretend to be, do whatever about it. And then look more towards wars and other things that they can agree with Republicans on, which actually I need to look into. I know I've been very behind on the news, I think this last week, but there were some going-ons in Syria. So I think I'm going to take a look at that in just a minute, but let's take a look at this.
Hey, Bobby, I want to switch gears and talk about your most recent column, which was about Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and of course the report that came out on Friday afternoon. You argue that President Biden has failed to make Saudi Prince MBS a pariah in this report that details the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. How did Biden fail?
Well, I think Biden failed by setting the expectations too high. When he was candidate for the presidency, he said he wanted to make the Saudis, and in this case, particularly Prince Mohammed.
Which audio? Because my mic audio is high as fuck. All of it. Dude, I do not know what it is, but I only get like this issue with you like all the time. Because my capture card is going through, so unless, hold on. Let me make sure. Let me make sure everything's looking okay here. Thank you. Shut up. You're saying my my mic audio is low because it's peaking, my dude. I'm viewing it right now.
To do that, the Crown Prince is already the de facto ruler
all
of
my
his
audio
country.
is like
You'll
peaking.
notice in the last 24
Yeah, I'll
hours,
raise
the
this one.
leaders of all the other GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council states,
Okay,
have come out
that
with
should sound a
statements
bit better.
backing him, and his people are not pulling away from him. His father, the king, who's old and infirm, is showing no signs of cutting him down to size. So there's no way Biden could have made him a pariah. And therefore, to have used that word, to have used that language, in retrospect, I think was a mistake.
So for people
sound
who don't
dampened?
follow this as closely as you do, why is the United States relationship
Probably because I just had my
with
gain a little bit
Saudi
lower.
Arabia so
How about
important?
that?
Well, it's important for a whole bunch of reasons. So for the United States, Saudi Arabia, being the biggest producer of hydrocarbons in the world, is very important because the oil market, the stability of the oil market, the reliability of the oil market.
I don't know, man. Like literally everything
Foreign
was
policy.
up,
From the Saudi
peaking
point
well.
of view, obviously
Actually,
the United
volume's
States,
very high.
provides a security umbrella for Saudi. And now that the Crown Prince is very interested in modernizing his country's economy, diversifying his economy from its
I checked the
dependence
scene.
on petroleum products, he's going to need American investment,
Are you sure
American
it's not on your
know-how.
end?
So it's a
I can
two-way
hear myself
trade.
quite
It's a
loud.
very important relationship of both countries.
Bloomberg Opinions, Bobby Ghosh. Hey, Bobby, thanks as always for your time. Great to have you.
And I can hear it all here. I see it all going through. Oh, hey. Hey, what's up, Extra Ranch? Thanks for stopping through. Maybe you can tell me if I sound dampened, because my boy Andy here says I sound really quiet.
Policymakers and industry experts via live and on-demand webinars, only from Bloomberg.
Shut up, Bloomberg.
Start exploring.
Well,
to see
thank you,
what's
buddy.
moving the markets.
Thank you. Maybe it's you, Andy.
Visit Bloomberg.com webinars.
Our generation's biggest problem.
Climate change is hot.
No, thanks for stopping through. I will be playing some Valorant a little later today, but it'll just be you. If it's you, then it'll just be you backseat gaming me, because it will not be pretty. I need to get some practice, and I want to warm up a good bit. Maybe some Cyberpunk. I was playing some last night as well. Been getting real into Valheim though. It's been a ton of fun. I'm not very far, Andy. I just built a new house with Nalu. That video will be going up. It's definitely fun to play and talk politics on. So I think I'll be doing a little bit more of that. I did that with two conservative friends, and that was pretty interesting. Yeah, no, Asher looks pretty dope. I'm just starting up with Yoru for the first time. I'm wanting to get better as a duelist. I'm pretty decent at Cypher, but I'd like to get better and quicker and more aggressive as a duelist and just better at that. But you know how it is too. It's also hard to just get in like training hours and whatnot, especially while at school. So, but Andy, I was actually going to ask you if you're interested in coming into Valheim. I'll definitely leave a space in there for you. Extra Ranch, you're definitely welcome as well. So far, I just have the one server, that and the one that I went on with Matt on, but I might delete that one, just invite him over to that one. Now that I'm getting a bit more of a hang of how it works. Yeah. If you can get it, dude, get it soon. Unfortunately, the one downside is that I'm probably not going to be around this upcoming weekend, which sucks. I might be there Friday day and maybe Sunday night, but I'm back at school on Monday, and my girlfriend and I are taking a trip down to Virginia to see a friend, just get out of the city for a little bit. Okay. Let's see here. Right. So what happened with Syria again?
For less than a month, or just over a month I should say, and Joe Biden has now ordered his first military strike of his presidency. The targets were Iranian-backed Iraqi militia based in eastern Syria, just across the Iraqi border, which, according to the Pentagon, were behind at least 3 separate attacks on U.S. assets in Iraq. The most recent was last week, when a coalition base at the Erbil airport came under rocket and mortar fire. A civilian contractor was killed, 5 Americans hurt. The U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin...
Jesus fuck. Of course. Can't even fucking bomb countries right. Oh, yeah. This is the shit that we're getting with libs. The other thing to go over this right now is also with Cuomo. Which, and I think that'll be next. And then maybe some reactionary reactions. Then some gaming. But, so yeah. What day was this? If you hadn't heard, we did some bombings in Syria. What day was this again? This was February 26th. The first now.
His first military strike of his presidency. The targets were Iranian-backed Iraqi militia based in eastern Syria, just across the Iraqi border, which, according to the Pentagon, were behind at least 3 separate attacks on U.S. assets in Iraq. The most recent was last week, when a coalition base at the Erbil airport came under rocket and mortar fire.
This was one of their attacks. That was my mistake. But
killed, 5 Americans hurt. The U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin offered few details as to what precisely was hit by these U.S. airstrikes.
We're confident in the target that we went after. We know what we hit. And we're confident that that target was being used by the same Shia militia that conducted the strikes.
For more details, here's CNN's Oren Lieberman reporting in from the Pentagon.
What have you been playing
against the site in eastern
lately,
Syria along the
Ranch?
Iraq-Syria border is the first known military action.
I forgot, are you still in school right now? Are you in grad school, or are you just fully done, just chilling right now?
Under President Joe Biden. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said it was his recommendation, and then Biden gave the final authorization for the strikes on Thursday morning. A U.S. official familiar with the strikes said up to a handful of militants were killed in that airstrike. And they come after a series of rocket attacks against U.S. and coalition forces operating in Iraq. First in Erbil about a week and a half ago, then in Balad Air Force Base just north of the city of Baghdad, and then the Green Zone in Baghdad itself. Austin said that part of the messaging here, and Pentagon spokesman John Kirby backed this up, was first that there will be a response to these rocket attacks, and second, to deter future rocket attacks. Austin made it clear that they're confident that it was Iranian-backed Shia militias that were operating in these sites that were struck by the U.S. Air Force, and it was those same militias responsible for the rocket attacks. Up until now, attributed the rocket attacks to anyone, but now pinpointing it on Iranian-backed Shia militias and more broadly holding Iran responsible for the actions of its proxies in Syria and in Iraq. This comes at a crucial time for the Biden administration when it comes to Iran, as it tries to figure out what to do and how to work diplomatically about Iran's nuclear program, also signaling that it wants to broaden out the agreement to include Iran's ballistic missiles and Iran's actions in the region. Oren Lieberman, CNN, at the Pentagon.
Live now to CNN senior international correspondent Ben Wiedemann, who is in Erbil, Iraq, to side.
Well, we do know, for instance, that the 15th of February strike, a missile strike on the Erbil airport and residential areas of the city was claimed by a group that calls itself the Guardians of Blood. Until now, largely unknown, but
a little bit more intense than the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Many other Iranian-backed militias that operate in many parts of Iraq, in northern Iraq as well, since the defeat of ISIS, have been held responsible, in some cases actually claimed responsibility for missile or mortar attacks, for instance, on the Green Zone in Baghdad, where the U.S. Embassy is located, and that many of these are acting in close coordination with some aspect, some part of the Iranian government, the military, or the Revolutionary Guard, but the direct strands are rather difficult to.
I mean, okay, so what do we have to say about this? Not good. First off, if we couldn't figure that part out. Trump did no different. Okay, Trump was not anti-war. He liked to profess that a lot. People like to say that about him, that there were no new wars started. That's true, but it's also kind of hard to see when we're always in perpetual war, or many of our wars are quote-unquote conflicts, not just war. And this is I understand that it's a response, but when you do missile strikes and things like this, all it does is reinforce this. And let's be honest, this is well known. The problems in the Middle East cannot be just solved with violence. Maybe pressure, financial pressure, a firm hand and a grip, but not outright violence. Because so many people in Syria, in Iraq, all over, in so many different Middle Eastern countries, Afghanistan, live in fear from drones they can't even see. Little children, little boys, little girls, mothers, fathers, so many innocent people. And it's not too insane when then someone comes around and says, hey, we're going to try and stick it up to this imperialist, evil government, which is, the American government is, don't doubt yourself, evil. A lot of governments are. I'm not specifically calling us out here, but we are the largest imperialist and power in the world. We do a lot of good things. Not really, but like it can be nice to be an American. Even then, not really. In a lot of respects, it's nice in regards to the fact that this is the wealthiest nation on the planet, which means there's a lot of wealthy people, and there's a lot of opportunity. Some of those things are still true. However, you also have the opportunity to get fucked by healthcare and education, and not really much of that so-called and supposed social mobility. But even beyond that, what we do around the globe, in Latin America, in the Middle East, is atrocious. And then, you have groups like PragerU and whatnot saying like, oh, well, you have to hate America to be a leftist or something like that. No, not generally, but after you start paying attention and looking at what would be good for people, and then recognizing that the U.S. industrial military complex and the U.S. as a whole outright denies it and rejects those things. And by that I mean these people are able to get radicalized against a government like ours because they know that it's powered by money, greed, companies just trying to make more money, and they know what so many of us have comfortably denied. And the problem about that is they also get played into the system because we train, arm those same people that we call terrorists or get radicalized, and those people that we've trained and armed then bring more people in until it just causes endless war. In regard to the military-industrial complex, which I was mentioning, which if you don't know or you are unaware, is the system, I was going to say machine system, but system in current place that perpetuates war because of product and money. You have a lot of companies like Boeing, like Lockheed, like Jeep, like medical supplies, all these things. Like when I worked as a medic in the military, and we're taught every fiscal year that we should use as many supplies as possible, get rid of as many as possible. That way, come the next year, they'll give us more money because we used more product. And that's what it comes down to. This is not, this is well studied, well shown. Even General Patton brought it up and to say and warned us of it right after World War II. This is one of our biggest exports, is war. That's why you see on CNN, there's been times where they've literally we're talking about the beautiful missiles heading out into, like, I think it was Syria again, or Iran. I can't remember. I think it was Syria. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was that was when Trump did it in Syria, and then they were talking about how beautiful the missiles were. This is the type of stuff, because Hassan said it on his stream, it's very true. The Republicans and the Democrats will be definitely bipartisan about at least two things, and that is the surveillance state and the military-industrial complex. And it's true. And it's sad.
To nail down, it's important.
And so, of course, what is it now? February, or, shit, is it really March? But, not even just under a month in Biden's first term, missile strikes into Syria. You could say not unprompted, but why now? Why do this now? And walking back on minimum wage. So business as usual then? We can't keep on going with this. We need to bring in actual fucking people, and we need to make sure that they're vetted. By that I mean actual people that have our interests at heart. And there's very few, but we make this by doing it. But we have to get out there, we have to unionize, we have to talk and convince as many people as we can, because we're done if we don't. Very much so, we are done if we do not. And I know that sounds dramatic, but because it is. We only have so many years to do as much as we can about climate change, and no one is taking it seriously. You can say the libs are all about it, but they don't barely do anything for it. Rejoining the Paris Accords isn't going to do anything for it too. It's just going to be posturing. We need to subsidize clean energy and get people in those jobs. It will create more jobs. And this is the biggest thing on my plate right now, because it is, if we don't do something about this, yeah, I mean, first stimulus, COVID, getting that done. But like, if we can't focus on climate, what does that do for me and those like me and the position that we're in? Like, when we think about having a family, because what does that mean? What will a family look like? Look at what happened to Texas. So many people wanted to go out and disprove that this is not climate change when it most obviously is. But places like Texas will not be livable because of the same shit that just happened there. And our whole infrastructure is poorly built. Actually,